You ready? All right, participants, if you would, grab your lunch, have a seat at the tables. We'll get started with our panel here in just a couple of seconds. And then after the panel, then we'll head back to the group B, and there's one person from group A that needs to wrap up, and we'll head back to our breakout rooms after that. Does that sound good? And then panelists, if you want a sandwich to eat while we're visiting, that's fine. Otherwise, there's plenty of time afterwards if you'd like to take it with you or whatever your circumstance is. Glad to have you here. All right. All right, participants, have you had a good day so far? It's been a good day? All right. We are so glad to have you here at Speak, Sell, Shine. And look at this good-looking panel that has been put together here. How about that? That's great. And all these folks have gotten together, invested money in an effort to take their passions and get in front of crowds and speak about it. And they're learning about the business side of speaking, of being a professional speaker, and as well as networking and fellowshipping together and having a few cocktails last night, and that was fun as well. The good questions got answered last night after a couple cocktails. That's what happened. So glad to have you here with us. All right, friends, it is my absolute pleasure to bring Pam Perry up here, who's going to moderate this panel. How about a round of applause for the hard work of Dr. Pam Perry?
Thank you, thank you. Oh my God, Marquette, hi. Give me a hug.
So wonderful.
Oh my God, this is like the best part. This is the good part, because not only are these media people, but these are media people that care. All right, and they care. They're friends of mine. I'll start with Kelly, and then I'll let them introduce themselves as well. But I'll let you know a little bit how I know Kelly. I know Kelly Wright, and you all may know him as well, from Fox News and all that, and he has his own show on BNC, and now he has his other show, America's Hope. Hope, okay. I know Dr. Rosalind likes that. But he's a friend of mine, and I met him through Claire Wilkerson, who we went to journalism school together at Wayne State University. And she was a producer of one of your shows, The Kelly Wright Show. Duh. So Kelly has been a fabulous friend. When I tell you, I think someone remembered that in one of my sessions that Kelly is so good. He can interview an ant and make it interesting, okay? He is like an excellent interviewer. I don't mean it like in a negative way, but you can make even the people who don't know what to say, make them look good. And then Denise, oh my God, Denise Rollard Barnes, like this is my girl. So her newspaper, The Afro, is going to be 60 years old next year. Well, I mean, okay, the Washington Informer. So I'm like all in the DMV, my head is like confused, because Tony had her big thing. Yeah, 131st, that was a few years ago, but your 60 is coming up. And next year, and we want to help you celebrate that in style, because I already talked to some of the cohorts. It's like, we're going to help Denise celebrate her 60 next year. So the Washington Informer, I love her. I met her through Dr. Ben Chavis, basically, you know, through NNPA. She's part of the National Newspaper Publishers Association, and also The Word, and you can tell them all the other stuff that you do. But she's a legacy newspaper. Her father founded the Washington Informer. She wasn't going to work there. And she ended up doing it, and then now her son is going to be taking the reins, hopefully. Yes, that's the thing, that's the thing. So Dr. Unique Rice Lamb, I can say that now, yes! She finished her PhD earlier in May, okay? And she's going to tell you a little bit of her resume. It's as if she doesn't have enough stuff to do, right? She's at Howard, she's a professor. I met her years ago through Karen Taylor Bass when you were at Heart and Soul. Yes, BET Weekend. Yeah, and BET. And she was doing all those things there. And so now she has like a new bin in the medical space. And I want you to kind of tell people about that as well. But she manages a lot of MMJs. Anybody knows what MMJs are? Or she teaches what MMJs are. Anybody knows what that is? Multimedia journalists. That's what they call them today now. So those are like the new crop of journalists, those that majored in journalism. Did you know about the MMJ when you were in school? Yeah, that's like a new thing. It's like, oh, an MMJ, what is that? Multimedia journalists, meaning they do all the things. They do DTM, doing the most, okay? And then Sharon Morton. Oh my God, this is my girl for real. This is my girl for real, for real. So we are not only, she started an organization a couple of years ago, 2 years ago? 2 years ago already, and it's Black Door Society. And it's basically an organization where Sharon wanted to bring Black women together to open doors of opportunity for building legacy and wealth. And we actually have our induction this weekend, and Sharon is a former TV reporter, always been in journalism, but she's on Sirius XM radio. You'll hear her voice and you know why she does Sirius XM radio. I mean, her voice is amazing, but she's a friend of mine, and I'm so glad that you're here. Actually, this weekend is BDS weekend, so she's gonna leave right out of here probably in a few for all the festivities that'll be going on. And then Marquette Shepard. Okay, so I've been following Marquette for a while. I've been fanning on Marquette because I just love what she does. When I first met her, I think you were on TV. She was an anchor, and I just liked her spirit. You know how sometimes you just see someone, and it's like, I like her spirit. Then I realized she wrote books, she had children's books, and now she has her own network, Glow TV, Glow Stream TV, right? And I was like, girl, you are doing the thing. So when we talked, and it was like, is this like a Christian station? Is it? But there's code words that we know when we know someone is Christian or faith person. And so when we talked, I knew that's what it was. And so it's her calling, besides all the other things. And then Dr. Vicki Johnson, hey! So I've known Vicki for over 20 years. Her first book was?
Gems for the Journey.
Okay, Gems for the Journey. What was that? Addicted to Love. So Addicted to Love.
Counterfeit love.
Was it?
Addicted to
Counterfeit Love. So this book, yeah, that's what I said. This book was the book that set it on fire for Vicki.
Yeah.
She was speaking at Woman Thou Art Loose. Okay, way back when, okay? So she did the thing, but her background is in journalism, PR. She worked for BET and all that kind of things, and now she's over the film department for Mayor's office, and then she also has a radio show on DC Public Radio. So this young lady, so let me tell you before this young lady, I have another friend, Jonathan Blakely, who works for NPR, who couldn't be here because he had neck surgery. He was trying to come against doctor's orders. I was like, no, sir. We are not trying to have you come up in here and you know, you're not. So Jonathan he worked in Detroit, been at a lot of different TV stations. I've known him forever, but he couldn't come. He said, but I know someone that I know would be really, really good. So you know how you have friends that are friends, and then they have friends, and then they bring you in? So that's what this is. So all these people up here are now y'all friends, okay? So they're y'all friends. And so you're my friend. So this is Cassandra. And so Cassandra is with Radio 1 and Urban One Network, which is the Kathy Hughes family, right? Which is where Unique is at, the Kathy Hughes School of Communications, right? We're in this DC area. Obviously, anything radio or media related is Radio 1. And she is actually integrated marketing specialist and is going to tell us what that is all about. But she is here because she cares, okay? And she's going to let us know what that really means in terms of media. So I want all of them to just give us some, like, a couple of minutes, each one. If they were a subject matter experts like they are, how would they get on your platform? How would they get on your program? How would they get in your newspaper? From the standpoint, I want you to wear a hat like a magazine today, you know, so that Sharon, for your network, Glow TV, DC, and Radio 1, okay? So I'm going to go sit over here, and you all I'll ask questions from over there. So you just start with Kelly and then go down and give them 5 minutes, and then they're going to ask you questions and put you on the hot seat, okay? Yeah. And, you know, be real.
You look beautiful.
Thank you. And I was up late, too, okay? Thank you. All right, Kelly, so you started off, give your little 5 minutes of advice that you want to give everyone who was looking to pitch what they need to say.
Well, first of all, good afternoon. It's a pleasure to be here. And as Pam has already informed you, my name is Kelly Wright, and I've been working in the media since I was 16. I started here in Washington, where I grew up in Southeast. Anybody from DC knows that. I grew up in a neighborhood called Congress Heights, and my birthplace is Hagerstown, Maryland, and I was going to Gonzaga High School, and they were going to pass me on a D average, And my single parent mother said, I don't think so. And went to the headmaster and said, I'm yanking him from the school. My son will not be taught to be mediocre. And then she moved me out to Hagerstown, Maryland, where I completed high school, then went on to Oral Roberts University and United States military. Anyway, what happened at that time, my mom knew quite a few interesting people in D.C. Some of you may recall Bobby Bennett. Others may recall Max Robinson. And of course, there's so many other people, Jim Vance. And as a young kid, they were there to impress me with their skills because they thought a lot about the value of how we give young men and women an understanding of who they are and what they can achieve and what they can accomplish. And so because of that type of impression that I had as a youth, I never let go of my dream to be a journalist or let go of my dream to be an advocate. Pam was talking about how I worked at Fox News. I worked there for 15 years. Without getting to a lot of details, we had a meeting of the minds, if you will, that was very public. And to be gracious and not disparage anyone who may have been adversarial towards me. I think we heard from Yolanda how when you go up against corporate America, because corporate America is coming at you, and you take a stand because you're marginalized and ostracized, but you're not demonized because you have the power of Christ to grow up and show up. So that's what I'll just leave it at that and say God has brought me to where I am today. And then the other issue is that after that I did some work for the 700 Club. I also worked for TBN. I had a show at TBN called Taking Care of Business. It's a call to action kind of program where we deal with a myriad of issues, but the underlying solution-driven, purpose-driven was to actually show hope and show ways of breaking out from human trafficking or gang activity. And then from there I went to Black News Channel and stayed there for, it was actually 2.5, 3 years. I won't get into all of the things that disrupted that and brought that down, but I'm just here to let you know that God brings you up. Because many years ago, I had offered this idea to Fox News. I said, you know what? Anytime a Navy SEAL calls me up in the middle of my show and says, I only watch it because you're on, because you give me something to hope for, but I go to bed angry at night. And do you know how bad that is? And I have an arsenal in my house and I go to bed angry and then wake up angry. And he says, Kelly, it's not a conservative thing, a liberal thing, a black thing, a white thing. And he was white. It's not a Democrat or Republican thing. It's a spiritual thing. And I knew exactly what he was talking about. So I offered this opportunity to that network many years ago. I said, you know, we are sending people to bed angry and they're waking up uncertain. And if you have a nation that is broken and you don't heal that brokenness, need I say, just take a look around and tell me what you see? So because of June, my single parent mother who stepped in to make sure I wasn't mediocre and could aspire for something good, that hope began to build up. And I offered it to them, didn't work. I offered it to other networks, didn't work. And the most unusual place is that a group of people at Epic Times and NTD said, what's wrong with hope? Bring your show here. And July 4th, we launched America's Hope. And everybody in here who has a story, there's power, as you heard Yolanda speak to you earlier, there's power in your story. I just recently spoke to a young lady from China who lives here. She went through persecution because of her faith. And she said, you know, no one can ever take our faith in God away from us. They can't destroy us. We are persecuted but not forsaken. So I'm looking at this room, I see people who are giants in their industry. The ladies that I'm sitting next to, and my 5 minutes is almost up. The ladies that I'm honored to sit next to and actually feel so welcome and warm. I said, let me sit in the middle of y'all, because I can feel the love. Send a picture to my wife and say, see? I still got it. But all joking aside, the one thing I want to tell you is that you look around, most of the news you hear is negative, it's gossip, it takes you down, brings you down, and never lifts you up, except for that little puppy story at the end. So I wanted to do a full hour of giving people hope.
Amen. Amen. Amen.
And in that full hour, I didn't want to make it Pollyannish, pie in the sky. I wanted to make it real. So when I have a Bishop Donna Hubbard from Atlanta, Georgia, telling me I was gang raped at the age of 21, and I was a journalist, and still because I became property of that gang, they still exposed me to things to the point that I even went to jail because of being a victim. And then she tells me her story about triumph. That's the kind of hope that prevails and changes lives. So that you don't go to bed angry, you go to bed saying, oh my God, did she do that? Did God step in and do that for her? So that's the kind of show that I have. America's Hope, you're all welcome to be a part of it. Anytime.
Okay.
And you can reach me anytime.
All right. Well, before we go to Denise, there's a question I want Dr. Rosalind to ask you. She doesn't know what it is yet, but I'm going to hand her the mic, and I'm sure she's going to tell you who she is and what she does.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Pam. And I do have a question.
Tell them what you do.
I am a hopeologist, and I change the world through hope. And I have a whole system. I've gone through so much in my life. My book is As Long as There's Breath in Your Body, There's Still Hope. I went through the hellhole of addiction and all of this and all of that. But hope is a powerful force. You are on to something. If we can galvanize this force and release it, we can turn the tide on this hope crisis that we're having in America and around the globe. So I guess my one question is, how can I get on your show? See, they ready.
So look, I'll put my information out there publicly. It's Good News Man, KW, @Gmail. That's my personal. Good News Man, and there is a double meaning in the Good News Man. I believe that the good news operates in a bad news world. So it's not, and then I'm a two-time Emmy-winning journalist, so I wanted to say, okay, Good News Man, KW @gmail.com. And I'm so encouraged by what you said, Doctor. You're a hopeologist. And you talked about the hope crisis. There is a crisis in America, and it's global. Dr. King exemplified hope in the midst of despair. I like to think that what you're doing is doing the same thing, and I'm trying to do it on an international level, even though I call it America's Hope. I call it America's Hope because this is where I live. But people from around the world, when they see it, they say, oh, this is what America used to be about.
Love it, love it. Thank you.
I'm trying to remind America what we are about, that it's just been stripped away and stolen, but we're here to bring it back.
Thank you. All right. Denise. All right. So give us a little bit of your backstory, because I told him a little bit about how you went kicking and screaming. Like,
Oh, yeah. It wasn't quite that bad, but good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It's a pleasure to be here today. I'm Denise Rolark Barnes, and I'm the publisher of the Washington Informer newspaper here in Washington, D.C. We are turning 59 years old on October the 16th. And I wish I could say I wasn't born when the paper started, but I was. And it was started by my father, the late Dr. Calvin Rolark, who came to Washington from Texarkana, Texas, and married my mom, and then divorced and married my stepmom, who really helped him to fulfill the dream that he wanted when so many of his dreams had been destroyed because of similar stories like yours, Yolanda. But he was a fighter. And so, one of the things that he felt as though Black folks' stories need to be told. And as a man who'd come from Texarkana, had seen as a child a Black man hung, and then he came to Washington at a time when Washingtonians couldn't vote for president, we couldn't vote for anything. We did not control the city, but we occupied over 50% of the residents or population of the city. And we were pushing for home rule at the same time that Dr. King was pushing for civil rights. And so his dream was to start a newspaper, and that newspaper became the Washington Informer. And this is where I grew up. Anybody from Washington, D.C. knows that any young person in the city used to say, you know, I got my first job from Marion Barrett.
Yes. It's true.
Well, when I wanted to apply for a job, my daddy said, you got a job. You know? And so that's where I spent every summer, every holiday, every day, through my matriculation through Howard University School of Communications, through my matriculation through Howard University School of Law. While I was learning to do journalism, I would go back to the office and put out a newspaper. And when I was in law school, learning about the things that really frustrated me, I'd go back to the office and put out a newspaper. The last thing I wanted to do was to go work for the Washington Informer, and in 1980 is when I started, and I've been there ever since. Full-time, on salary. I do have my first check that my father gave me, which was $25 a week. But anyway, yeah, so. And I want to stick with the hope theme just for a second, because it's one phrase that someone that we all know, and I don't know if you have as much respect for him as I do, but Reverend Jesse Jackson, who always reminded us to keep hope alive. Yeah. And every day of my life, that term becomes, you know, more accurate, that hope is something that we need to fight for. And so, and that's what we try to do through the Washington Informer, is to show our community, and someone called it cupcake journalism one time as a Washington Post reporter. But, you know, and Black newspapers have always talked about the desire to tell positive stories. It's harder to tell those positive stories today, but we recognize the need to keep hope alive. So we have to talk about what our communities are doing to address all of the negativity that's happening. And so that's our mission. I'm gonna jump really quickly to, if I were in your seat, what would you, how could you get your story told through this new MMJ news organization that I'm running? Because not only are we print now, we are online, we have a broadcast that we do, we have social media, we're on all the platforms. That's what's gonna run me out of journalism, because I'm beginning to think my brain is too old to understand all this stuff, but I gotta do it. But, you know, I could give you my email address, which I'm really willing to do. And it's I'll give you the simple one, which is denise@washingtoninformer.com. I get about 200 emails an hour. Yes, an hour. It's the most frustrating thing, because I call myself cleaning them out. In about 15 minutes, at least another 20 or 30 have come in. So sure, email me. I hope that I will see it, right? Call me. My phone rarely rings, but feel free to call me, 202-236-8831. 202-236-8831. That's my cell phone number. If you call me and I haven't answered, because I was at a panel not too long ago where someone said, it's okay not to answer your phone. I was like, really? So if you haven't heard from me, you call me, you left a message, you haven't heard from me, text me, okay? Send me a text. I'm also on LinkedIn, and I'm reading more of my LinkedIn messages now than I love those. I don't particularly like emails, but I love LinkedIn because I feel like these are people that really want to reach me. And then when we do connect, I can listen to people for hours. I could have sat in here today and just listened to all of your stories. I love them because I hear them all day long, every day. No offense, but everybody has a story. It's how do I get my stories bubbled up to the point where I can get Denise or the Washington Informer or any broadcast station or wherever you're trying to reach out to hear my story. I'll listen, but am I hearing it? And then when I am, you really have to help me out. You know, don't say because, you know, well, I've done this and I'm doing this and I'm doing the other, because I might get 10 people in one day that are doing the same thing. What does help is when you say to me, one, you're familiar with the publication, you've read it, this is my commercial, that you have signed up and you're receiving it. You know, you're a subscriber in essence, it doesn't cost. So you can go online at WashingtonInformer.com and sign up. But you have a sense of either something we've done, something that is happening right here and now, that your story can relate to so that we can get a hook. Even when our reporters, and you know this, Yannick, reporters come in and they're trying to pitch us stories. And I had one guy come in, one of our reporters the other day who covered the congressional football game. I said, James, why do I want to cover that? Well, because it happens every year. What? What's the hook? Give me a hook. So I need you to help me, all right, because then I'm going to pass you on to my editor, who's now going to pass you on to a reporter, who I have to pay to help write your story, okay? So really, not only give me a hook and help to show me the value, not to me, not to you, but the people that we're trying to serve. What is that value to our readers and your potential customers? And with that, we're on a roll.
There we go. There you go. I love it. So in the words of Jerry Maguire, I don't know if you all remember that, it's like, help me help you. That's it. Like, help me help you. Okay, that's one of my favorite movies. Okay, Dr. Unique.
Okay. Hi, I'm Yannick Rice Lamb again, and I'm a recovering magazine addict. So with that, I've had to get used to...
They want you to say your name again. I'm mispronouncing your name, so you say it. So you know I'm calling you Unique, so it's Yannick. Yes, there we go, Dr. Yannick.
Like Unique.
Y-A-N-I-C-K.
Yes. Yes. Yannick Rice Lamb.
Yes, Rice Lamb.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 3 words, no hyphen, 1 N. I've gotten a lot of Mr. mail, so sometimes when people were pitching us, so that didn't always help when people were pitching ideas or to write them or to get covered, because that sets your mind. I at least looked at them. Some people put them in the round file when they receive things that was calling them out of their names.
Yes, yes.
But I'm happy to be here today and to see all of you. I'm currently at Howard University. I've been there, I shouldn't say currently, I've been there 23 years now. And I really enjoy working with young people. So I always say this is my most fulfilling job, and BET Weekend was my most fun job. I was editor-in-chief there and then editor-in-chief of Heart and Soul magazine. So at Howard, I run HU News Service. The Howard University News Service is hunewsservice.com. So we distribute the students' content around the country. And so some of it goes to the Washington Informer. We've also partnered with Denise, and she's also housed and taking care of our students. She comes on campus quite a bit. But one of the things that I've tried to do in my career and also with my students is also, when we were talking about hope, is looking for that in stories and things too. So I tend to be a person who looks at the cup half full. So to not just write about problems, but to include solutions or do solutions journalism, but also to talk about things that just don't get covered all the time. And so that's one of the good things about you, is to kind of flex your expertise and to, look for things that aren't being covered and how your stories can be covered and how you can be used as an expert, whether it's in the Black press or whether it's in general market media also. A lot of times when you're trying to approach producers and editors, they want you to tell them something they don't already know. And they, and as Denise was mentioning too, they want you to tell them something that fits their audience. So you also have to know the differences between audiences in different places as well. So even if it's a Black woman's magazine or website, they may have a younger audience, an older audience, or they may focus on something specific. So Heart and Soul and now FierceForBlackWomen.com, which is a site that I have now, we focus on women who are 35 and older. We have some who are younger than that. We call them aspiring fierce women. But we focus on health and wellness, everything that keeps women financially, physically, emotionally, spiritually healthy.
FierceForBlackWomen.com,
Yeah.
so you all write that down.
And we had a similar approach when I was at Essence also. And I worked at Child Magazine, and I started in newspapers. So when I was at Ohio State, I cut my teeth on the Black press working at the Columbus Call-and-Post and the Columbus Onyx. And our Choking Times at Ohio State, which is a throwback name to the 60s and 70s. I think they've since changed the name of that. And from there, I went on to the Toledo Blade as a reporter and editor, and I went to the Atlanta Journal-Constitution.
Was Janet Cook
and
there
the New
when you
York
were there?
Times. No, but I thought that was going to ruin my career. I was at the Toledo Blade when she had the issue with the Pulitzer in the story. Yeah. If you look up Jimmy's World and Janet Cook, you can see what that's about.
You can see what that's about.
I won't tell you everything, but it happened here in Washington. Yes. And because I was a young Black woman in Toledo, where she started, at the Toledo Blade, where she started working, and it was my first job out of college, so I felt like it was hanging over my head, but fortunately, it really didn't. Although, for a number of people, it did cause people to kind of look at their resumes and cast shadows on them when they left. Same with Jason Blair. That had a strong ripple effect where a number of people lost their jobs because their stories were audited, and if they found errors in them, some people were let go after that. Wow. So, of course, that doesn't happen to every people, it happens to people who look like us. It doesn't always happen to everyone else, because I know someone who plagiarized, and I saw him at Supreme Court. I've seen him at the White House. He's still, out there working hard, but we don't always bounce back like that, so we have to be extra careful. And we push hard on the inside where we're working on to get stories that cover our communities, and we do get a lot of pushback. So it's really important also when you see stories that you want to see or that you like or you think are done well, that you give positive reinforcement and say something about it. At the same token, when you see things that don't work well, that you say things about that as well. And that you do
like a letter to the editor type of thing?
Yeah, like a letter to the editor, a call, or whatever it takes. Or sometimes it gets to the point where people boycott their advertisers, that kind of thing too. But also when you see stories where you could have been the expert or someone in your neighborhood could have been profiled to say, oh, that was a nice story, but you should also know about so-and-so, or you should also know that I have next time you do the story, I'd be happy for you to call me as an expert too. So you want to, when things are going on that are newsworthy or timely, you can always reach out or send information so that people can, talk to you and feature you as an expert. On any platform that is, whether it's newspapers, radios, TV,
web,
online, social media, all of that. So you want to make sure that you're on their radar, and then also that you develop relationships to find out who the bookers are at different TV shows or networks or things like that, so that you're on their we don't say Rolodex anymore, in their database of experts.
It's like what's a Rolodex? Yeah.
Yeah, I try not to use that word with my students because they look at me like, what's that? But you want to make sure you're on their radar, and if you're not on their radar, that you put yourself on their radar when you see things that you could have been featured in that way. So that's really important too. And that you also have a website. There's something flying around trying to visit me. that you also have a website, so when people are looking for experts, that they can find you, so you're searchable and you come up and search. And then also
That
the
they're
different
Google-licious.
organizations you in, if they have a list of experts. Pardon me?
That they're Google-licious.
Yeah, they're Google-licious. That's a good word. Be Google-licious. And make sure that the organizations that you're involved with are Google-licious too. So if they have some of them have database of experts, so if somebody contacts that organization, they may say, well, who do you know that's an expert on this topic or that topic? And if they don't, you might suggest that they start one. Mm-hmm. And, sometimes through the universities that you attended or different ways like that. So there's a number of different ways to put yourself out there, but some people do. I remember receiving sometimes releases from people about, whatever's going on, whether it's COVID-19 or whether it's books being banned or whatever is timely, that they have something to say about it and they have expertise in that area. So you want to make sure that you're visible.
I love
so I'm going to
that.
stop since we have
Yes.
half a
Yes,
table of
thank
people
you,
to
thank you.
talk to. Thank
So
you.
we want to make sure that thank you, Dr. Yannick. So Sharon Morton, give us a little bit. We've got to get out of this room by 1:30 because what happens is that the rest of the people here have to do their speaking, their TED Talk talks. So we got.
I'm going to speed it up.
Yeah, a little bit. Thank you.
You're welcome. I'm Sharon Morton with SiriusXM Radio. I'm the second generation journalist, actually. My mom graduated from the Howard University School of Communications, and so I kind of take after her. I went to Rutgers University, and I had a radio show there. And then once I got out of college, I went into politics. Don't ask me why. And from there, people noticed me, and I then got a phone call from an ABC News affiliate to do some political commentary on News Channel 8. You all remember News Channel 8? They're still on. I was only supposed to be there one time, one day. It was me and 3 white guys. I was like, this is not going to work. But it did. It worked well. And we ended up being on the show for 14 years.
Wow.
Yes. And we're still friends to this day. Yeah, so you should never judge a book by its cover, by the way. Mm-hmm. And then the show got canceled, and like maybe a month later, I got a phone call from a good friend who happened to get a SiriusXM radio show. And I'd been trying to get on SiriusXM radio for several years. It was very difficult, even with all of the people that I knew. I was a guest on shows on SiriusXM, but I wanted my own show. And he called me, he said, Sharon, I got a show on SiriusXM radio, but I don't know how to produce it. I don't know what to do. I don't know what to say. Can you produce it for me and co-host? I was like, hell yeah. You don't look a gift horse in the mouth, right? And so I was doing that show for about 3 years, and then I pitched my own show to Sirius, and they greenlit it. So I began to produce and co-host one show and executive produce and host another show. Needless to say, after about 2 years, I was exhausted. And at the time, we were taping at WHUR in their studios, and then COVID hit. And then someone at the station died, and then I got seriously ill and almost died, and then they sent us all home to record at home. I couldn't record because I was too busy trying to stay alive. And then finally I got better, and I just couldn't do the other show. I just couldn't do 2 shows anymore. But everything is all about who you know, what you know, who likes you, who trusts you. And so I'm still in contact and talk to my former co-host regularly, send him guests for his show that meet his qualifications and criteria, and he'll send me people.
What's the name of your show?
My show is called Skin Deep. It's all about mental, physical, and financial health and wellness. But really, a lot of times when people want to know how can they get on SiriusXM or how can they get on my show or my friend Carl Brown's show, which is called The Small Business Report. Our friend Willie Jolly also has a show on our station.
He'll be here
SiriusXM.
later today.
Yes, SiriusXM Radio, Channel 141. Sometimes I'll call him and I'm like, Willie, Dr. Jolly, can you get this person on your show? Well, a lot of my referrals come from people like Pam Perry. because I know that Pam is not going to send me someone who's not an expert in their area, who has credibility and authority. And that's what I'm always looking for, people who are credible, who have great websites, who speak well, because we're not on television, we're on the radio. So you have to resonate with my almost 1 million listeners nationwide. Wow. And if you don't resonate, then they are not going to be happy. My ratings are going to go down. I will never have you on the show again. And so it truly is all about what you're doing, what you have done. Again, are you credible? If you come through Pam, I'm not going to vet you as much as I'm going to have you vetted if you just come directly to me. So my email address is S as in Sam, R as in Robert, F as in Frank, Morton, like the salt or the steakhouse without the S, srfmorton@gmail.com. You can reach out to me. I do have a team that vets you. I will be calling Pam. Pam, is this a good person to be on this show? But I hope I wasn't going too quickly. I wanted to finish as quickly as possible, and still, hopefully you got something from what I just said.
Excellent. Thank you. I love that story. Guys, this is like aligning these things up. Okay, Marquette Shepherd.
Well, it's an honor and a pleasure to be here. Thank you so much, Pam, for having me. I'll start with the highlight reel, but everybody has a story, so I want to share a little bit about myself as well. So I'm an Emmy Award-winning broadcast journalist. I have 5 Telly Awards and 1 Webby Award. So I definitely, all of that comes through hard work, networking, being faithful, standing in your power and knowing your talents and knowledge, and committing yourself to your passion and your purpose. For me, that's storytelling. I spent 4 years as a morning show anchor on the CBS affiliate here in Washington, D.C. I hosted a morning show in Richmond, and up and down the East Coast, I've been a red carpet host for many different outlets, national and local. And I think what drives me is shining a light on other people. I truly love hearing people's stories and knowing that somebody needs to hear your story, especially as a morning show host. It's funny, I've never worked afternoons or evenings, and I think that has been a calling because in the morning, you're waking people up. They're starting their days and making a decision about how they're going to go about their day. And I've always been put on mornings. And I think about people at home in the morning. Maybe they're recovering from a surgery. They're sick. They're out of work. Maybe they just had a baby. And so you have to infuse a little bit of inspiration in them as well. So when you're thinking about getting into the media, think about the timing of the show that you're on. If you want to be on a morning show, the theme of today is hope. That's something that you can pitch. That's an angle that you can pitch. Afternoon, a little bit similar, but it's like, here's what's going on in the day. Here's what happened in the morning, what you can look forward to in the evening. The evening news is really tough, and one of our panelists said it. My news directors would always say, if it bleeds, it leads, which I don't think is a nice phrase. But what they were saying is the train wreck is going to be the top story of the newscast, right? We're gonna scare you up a tree, shake a stick at you, and then the puppy dog story, we're going to let you down and say, okay, go to sleep. See you tomorrow. And human psychology is such that when you see a train wreck or a car crash, you can't help but slow down and look. So just know what you're going into when you want to approach the media. Be very clear about your message and your purpose, who you want to reach and why you want to reach them. And your authenticity will book you that interview. Your clarity, your conciseness. As a morning show anchor in the number 6 top market in the country, I got so many pitches, just like Denise said. And for me, if you were going to filibuster me, and I'm a mom with a small child, and I'm working in an 8-hour workday, you're not going to get booked. So you got to tell me the who, what, when, where, and why as quickly and as clearly as you can. And I may like you in the beginning, But if you try to just keep me on the phone to filibust, I can't have you on a live morning show when we have commercial breaks to hit. You know what I mean? So you got to know the business too, and what you want to get in, what you want to say, and then get out. Okay? So know how to be a good guest, because television, even though digital is huge, television is here. If you're on TV in Washington, D.C., you have the potential to reach 7 million people in 4 minutes. What are you going to say? Radio is here too, right? As long as people drive in cars, they will listen to a podcast or a radio show. And then digital is worldwide, right? So maybe you start out local and then you go national, but you can reach people all over the world through digital. So after hosting morning shows up and down the East Coast for 10, 15 years, finally, I got to what I thought was my dream job, morning show anchor in Washington, D.C. And the better I did there, the less the management liked me, you know? It was funny. I was young. I didn't have as much experience as the other people. And I had 7 co-hosts in 4 years. Everybody kept getting replaced but me. I poured my heart into it as the only chocolate person on the show. And 2 weeks after I was the only person to win an Emmy on my morning show, 2 weeks after, my vice president called me into his office and he said, you think you're good? You're not good enough. You know? And I thought to myself, okay, I have to leave this place because it was emotionally and verbally abusive. I had people with blonde hair coming in and yelling and screaming, coming to work 45 minutes late, but I would come in on time, and you know you can't get away with that. So, and then I dyed my hair blonde. I said, well, it's not the blonde hair. It must be something else. Must be something, because it ain't the blonde hair. I'm still, you know, acting like a professional here. So during commercial breaks, I started writing children's stories in a notebook that I got for free at a CBS workshop. And on the set, when I had downtime, I was plotting my next move. And so 2 years into my job at the TV station, my first book, What is Light, came out. And it's all about the light that you have inside of you. And I decided I'm done speaking to adults. You guys, your minds are kind of hard to change. So I'm going to talk to babies, you know, and they have a clean slate. And then what I learned is that book was #1 on Amazon before it even came out in pre-sales. That everybody needed a little bit of inspiration. Parents wanted to read it to their babies at night. And so I started writing more children's books. Denise, can you hold up the one this is my latest one, just came out, Ninja Nate. All inspirational, positive images and words of brown people, published by Simon & Schuster. It's my 3rd book, because I thought, not only am I reaching children, what I realized is I'm reaching parents. You know, and the message is always something that you have a light inside of you, okay? Don't let anyone dim your light, because along the way we get bumps and bruises, right? And it kind of shapes our outlook, but you gotta stand firm in your power. So I'll end on this note. After I published my first children's book and it reached #1 on Amazon, I got a 2nd book deal. And then I got a 3rd book deal. And then I decided a storyteller is a storyteller is a storyteller, whether you have the big fancy title and you walk into the big fancy TV studio or not. So I launched my own platform because I saw that there was value in me owning the narrative as an African American storyteller and publisher, right? So glowstreamtv.com is my website. You are welcome to contact me. I highlight women, entrepreneurs, people who have interesting stories. I produce a podcast, and I have clients, I can say, who Glowstream TV is my calling card, but they'll say, come and produce something for my annual event, which if you go to my Instagram, @Marquette Shepherd, you'll see I was at an annual event for African American executives. in the country. And Glowstream TV has sent me to Venice, Italy this summer to shoot a female filmmakers initiative through an organization where I got entrepreneurship training. But I decided that when you own the narrative and you court and you work with African American media, your story is going to be respected. Or the authenticity of your story is going to be from the pitch to the moment that it's published. And so I just started pouring myself into what I believe is the new civil rights movement, which is entrepreneurship, right? Yes. So as a media professional, I always had this goal of, I'm going to work at CBS. And I got there, and then I realized, you're still working at CBS, right? I mean, you're not your own person. And so I would just encourage you as entrepreneurs to grow your business, court African American media, look for the African American or people of color news managers at the publications and the TV stations you want to be in. Try to develop a relationship with them. No media entity is too small. And then I'll end on this note. When a fellow journalist, Alicia Quarles, experienced a mental break on the internet a little over a year ago, I looked at it, and the cops were called on her as a pregnant woman. I looked at it and I said, she didn't need the cops, she needed a doctor. And I wrote an op-ed that night, and I published it on my website, Glowstream TV. I didn't have to check with anybody. I didn't have to push the story through as a reporter. Alicia, who I didn't even know, I met 1 or 2 times professionally, reached out to me on Instagram. She said, thank you for telling my story. Wow. She said, that is the only story that defended me right when that incident happened. And since then, she's given me her cell phone number. She has given me her address. She wants to read my children's books to her babies. This all came from the power of me owning my narrative. And so when she did her first exclusive interview on the Tamron Hall show a couple of weeks ago, my website started blowing up. And I was like, oh my God, what are people reading? And it was just all these little hits on my website. They were reading the op-ed that I wrote a year ago. Alicia Quarles needed a doctor, not the cops. And she reached out to me again because then Tamron Hall's audience got to hear a third-party perspective on her situation. So that is the power of media that comes from our community. And I encourage you to...
Thank you.
And I'm sorry. No.
Thank you. Oh, my God. This is so good. We need more time. Dr. Vicki, can you... my producers are, okay, go on. All right. 2 minutes.
I'm a preacher. I know how to do 2 minutes.
Okay.
So I am Dr. Vicki Johnson, and I'm so honored to be here, honored to be among each of the panelists here. I have been in media now over 42 years.
Wow.
I had a career at BET for 18 years. I have a podcast now, the Soul Wealth Radio Show, Wealthy Conversations that Nurture the Soul, that lives on dcradio.gov and WHUR 96.3 HD4. That is their HD channel and all podcast platforms. I would love to have each of you as a guest on my show.
Wow.
Because everyone...
There we go.
I heard some of your TED Talks earlier. Would love to have a conversation with you on the Soul Wealth Radio Show. I am on social media at all things Vicki, V-I-K-K-I.
Yep.
My website is vickijohnson.com, V-I-K-K-I, Johnson.com. Let's connect. And the one thing that I want to offer to you is the greatest asset that each of you have in this room is each other. And I say that as a media professional with over 40 years experience. And I can tell you, as Pam, when she introduced me earlier, we've been knowing each other over 25 years. I'm a TED Talk speaker, I have 12 books, I'm a chaplain, and I currently am in the mayor's office of cable television, film, music, and entertainment. I issue film permits for the city. So if you're doing a movie, if you're doing a documentary, your application has to come across my desk, and I issue the permits for the city. So I just want to encourage you, get to know and really connect with each other. My circle of support in my career over 40 years, we started out together. I did my internship at BET when it was at Atlantic Video. Like, our corporate campus did not even exist. And so I've grown up in the industry with my peers. So more than or just as important as what you're hearing up here, connect with the person sitting next to you, across from you, because then you get to share your universes with each other, right? Yeah. And that is how you expand. So build relationships. That's what I want to say. I'm going to pass it to my girlfriend right here, Cassandra Greer. You know, and I had a radio show on Radio 1 for a few years, and then I had another daily segment here for 7 years called I'm Every Woman. And that really launched my radio career, where I was able to reach over 300,000 women every day with a segment of hope and inspiration. So this is a powerful room to be in, and Pam, thank you so much.
Thank you, thank you. Oh my God, that's a theme right there. Okay.
I mean, I was the last one. I'm like, oh, this is great. All right. It's 1:30. Discipline maintains power, so maybe I'm done. But I'm Cassandra Greer. Just a little background about me is my dad is in the Hall of Fame for football. He's the first black to play in the Sugar Bowl, Bobby Greer. So I have a lineage of my mom had 3 masters and a PhD. She grew up with Will Smith's mother. I was just talking to her 2 days ago, and I was like, thank you for taking my mom on private yachts and jets before she passed. And she's like, I said, she would never have done that. And she's like, you know what, Cass, I wouldn't have thought that would happen to me growing up in the projects. So just basically, my life is, I just believe that, God orders all your steps. I was the first hire for Praise radio station with Kathy Hughes. When I saw her, I said, God sent me here. And actually it happened really kind of weird. I heard it on the radio, got hired. I brought over $20 million into Praise, into Radio 1. We have over 200 million listeners with our reach, advertising, with TV, radio. Wow. Radio has done a big transition, so I have had to pretty much brand everybody in 5 different ways. And that's what my specialty is trying to really make you look good. So we have free shout outs for African American businesses. Just so you know, it's $10,000 worth of free ads. Feel free to call me at C. Greer at Urban One. We had to even change our name. It was Radio One was my website's. Now it's Urban One because we had to encompass everyone. Little background about me, I worked at MTV. I had my own talk show at Penn State. It became popular because a white guy hit a black girl in the face, and I had a talk show at the time. So it just became kind of wild. Philadelphia Inquirer picked me up, and I moved to New York because MTV hired me. And kind of full circle came to DC because I was at Howard before Penn State. But Howard, I would have probably still been at Howard because it was a lot of fun. But but I grew up with private schools. My brother used to say to my mom in Pittsburgh, "Are we the only black people in the whole world?" And I was like, So basically, I wanted to go get the black experience. So that's a little background about me. I love this girl here. So, and basically, I have kind of do everything from the mayor's office. If you guys need anything from A to Z, I've done. So if you have any branding ideas or things that you want to run by me, feel free to call me.
All right, thank you. Again, all of them I will put in our Telegram group, their emails, so that you can have it, because it was like, what is it? How do you spell her name? Shepherd? What is it? I said 2 P's and Sharon, they can't spell your first name, right? It's like, oh, okay, that's just a Rubik's Cube right there. So I'll put it on Telegram. We have time for 2 questions really quickly before we break and go and do our, anyone have any questions? You have a soror here, Dr. Vicki. Come on. Oh, okay. YB, and then you got a question? Yeah. Okay, go on.
Before you take a question, Pam, really quickly, is Laticia here?
Right there.
Laticia just sent me an email, And I told her I'm going to reach out to her this month. Well, she didn't put in her email, which should have gone. I mean, text. I'm sorry, I don't read the emails, but the text at the top, you should have said, you know, this is Domestic Violence Awareness Prevention Month. That's right. And then give me your hook. Okay. But because you didn't, and because I know we want to do a show on domestic violence, if I'm going to reach out to you to see, are you willing to be on our show? Oh. Wow.
Eric. Hello, I'm Eric Collier. I'm also known as the Mayor of Motivation. So I have a question. I host the Momentum Shift podcast, and I'm always curious as to what was that aha moment for you that said when you looked like you were going to stop, when it looked like it was going to be over, and it just kicked into gear for you to keep going? What is the driver that kept you going at that time?
I got it.
Okay.
I'll try to make it brief, too. Several years after my dad died, I couldn't pay any bills. I couldn't pay the printer. I couldn't pay anybody. And I was trying to continue the newspaper, and someone had told me that Don King wanted to buy black newspapers. So someone put me in touch with him. We communicated. We went to lunch. I drove to Atlantic City, crazy, by myself in the middle of the night to a fight, just so I could have a conversation with him. He finally said to me, yeah, Denise, I'd like to buy the paper. I want it. Don't give me a price over $1 million. I mean, at that point, I would have given him, he could have bought it for 10 cents, right? But then he said to me, when I buy it, I want to change the name. I don't like that Informer. I don't like that Washington Informer. And I couldn't sleep that night. And I said, I would never do that. I will struggle until, and then when I do sell it, I'm going to make sure it's worth 3 times that million, if not more. Mm-hmm. That was my aha moment. It showed me that I was really committed to what I was doing.
Mm-hmm. I love it. Thank you. Thank you.
I'll be quick. For me, I remember sitting on the couch of the TV set and not wanting to be there. And it looks glamorous, but I'm knowing what's going on behind the scenes. And what kept me there for 4 years was the thought, so many people along the way helped lift me up on my journey. I cannot let them down. I can't quit, right? I have to stay here long enough to make an impact and make a difference, because nobody's successful alone. So, yeah, so I feel like part of your success is showing up every day as a thank you to everybody who invested in you.
Oh, I love that. Oh, my God, I love that. All right. Last question, YB.
Was COVID. I mean, it really changed my life, and basically because of it, I've had to find 5, 6, 7 streams of income. I became an insurance, life and health insurance broker, a PR consultant, consulting for churches. I mean, anything you can think of, I've been doing. But I feel like COVID changed my life.
All right, I love it. Just really, okay.
Okay, just real quick, my name is Teri Donelson. I'm known as the Purpose Pusher. But my question is, because I heard a few of you say to court the media. What is one first step that we should take to court the media?
Wow, that's a good one.
So I teach media training as well, and one thing I tell people is to treat it like you're dating, okay? So you don't go on a first date and ask to be married, right? So you don't meet a journalist, maybe you go out for lunch, start dating the reporters in your target media outlets. Ask what they do, what type of stories they're interested in. Can you get a copy of their editorial calendar? So if the first question is, hi, can I be on your show? It's the first date and you're asking if you can get married, okay? So just shift your mindset to treat your relationship with the media as if you're dating and you want a relationship that is mutually beneficial.
And that could even look at something as following them on Twitter, retweeting their tweets, liking their Instagram, commenting on their blogs. the thing, those kind of things help. I mean, even if it doesn't really pertain to you, you thought it was a good story, retweet it. Tell Kelly, oh, I like that show that you did about this and that. I mean, those are the things. Or it's like, oh, I'm going to send you this email. FYI, I thought you might like this. That kind of thing. It's just information for them. Anything to help them help you.
Say that if you send out, you have to send out press releases, you have to send them to those media folks that you'd like to know. You also need to be on podcasts, get your name out there, grow your expertise and your authority and your credibility so that when they do look for you or look at you, there's some information that they can take from that. They can see that you either have a following or you've been in the news before, you've been on the news before. You're not a newbie, a neophyte. So that's important as well.
I got to jump out of my seat on this one, though, because as I just told Kelly, when I went on my first date with my husband, I told him, I want to get married. And I said to him, if you're not interested in building a relationship to that point, tell me now before my feelings are, get involved.
Yeah, I just want to add to that.
We got married.
In being direct like you were, it worked out. And the ladies are right, in terms of courting the media, but I'm going to flip the script because I think that we in the media, well, for me personally, I'm courting you. I'm actually reaching out to you because I want to hear and see what you're doing that's going to impact not only your life, but the lives of others. As I was listening to them talk, and even about the books, there was a young lady who's only 8 years of age. She went through two major heart operations before the age of 4. And she's written a book called Trinity. And as I'm listening to you, I'm thinking, I need to put Trinity with her. And Trinity was on my show because her parents told me their story. I said, oh my God, bring her here tomorrow. I tape my show in New York. Trinity showed up and I just sat there. And I was gobsmacked by her love and her tenacity and not knowing if she's going to see tomorrow. So, and I covered the war in Iraq. I've covered some nasty mess. So I'm courting you because I want to see what you are capable of doing, how God shows up in your life and does something that no one can ever take away from you. And because of where I've worked, people hate, love Fox. It was #1 when I was working there. If they had listened to me, they'd be #1 again. But we ain't going there. I mean, the proof is in the pudding. And another thing I would just say to you, just a plug, you can go to YouTube to see us as well. America's Hope with Kelly Wright, which is NTD graciously gave me a YouTube channel with 200,000 subscribers. You can subscribe to that. And if you don't like what I'm talking about, that's cool. It's okay. But I'm talking to every and anybody from every walk of life, every stripe of life. That's something we have to think about in our African American community. We don't always think the same. We're not monolithic. But we sure are common ground and table of brotherhood when it comes to hope. And there is a crisis. And domestic violence, we've already had 3 issues on domestic violence this past week. So we want to just continue doing this.
Thank you all. All right, good afternoon. I don't have a question, but I do have a comment about what all you have shared. My name is Stacy Hawkins Adams. I'm a fellow journalist, former newspaper reporter, former freelancer for Heart and Soul magazine. I published 11 books, some with HarperCollins, 9 novels, and then 2 nonfiction books. And this is coming out next week, hot off the press. It is a self-published 1-book poem, a chapbook called The Pivot, about how we pivot through life's storms. It speaks to women. She's got heels instead of ballet slippers because she's pivoting through domestic violence. She's pivoting through breast cancer awareness. She's pivoting through whatever life brings. But it also speaks to men. So I want to gift each of you all with a copy of this. Of course, I would love to be a guest on your show, but I also want to just thank you all because having been an African-American journalist for almost 30 years, I've known Vicki for years, it's not easy what you do, and then you're giving back to us. So thank you for helping spread the word so more of us can be featured.
Thank you. Woo! That is, oh my God. Oh my God. They're saying that because she's kind of like the shyest one, right? And she's like, she came with it, okay?
But she just proved my point.
Huh?
She just proved my point.
Right.
I want to be on your show.
Yeah.
Just tell me. What
Just
do
tell
you
me.
want?
It's a CTA. Like, what is the call to action? What is the call to action? YB, you had a quick question, and then we're done for real. Okay.
I'll make it brief. I want to put some money in somebody's pocket. Marquette, correct? I am reading to a group of students in Richmond. I live in Richmond, Virginia. My name is Rob YB Youngblood. I'm known as the LinkedIn locksmith, and I'm a member of Rotary, and I have an opportunity to speak to young people. How can I purchase your book today to get it signed so I can take it back to Richmond? Is that possible?
I love that. Thank you. Thank you so much. I host a morning show in Richmond. So my book is everywhere books are sold. You can go to Amazon, Ninja Nate. If you go to my website, www.marquetteshepard.com, MarquetteSheppard.com, and you click on Ninja Nate, it'll take you right to Amazon. You got Prime. It'll be on your doorstep by the time you get home. Follow me on Instagram. I'm always doing book parties, and I just gave away my books at my book launch, so maybe we can do something in Richmond together.
I'd love to. I'm a two-time author, but my goal is to get it signed so I can give the book to the school. So if there's a way for us to do that, I'd like to make that happen.
Oh my goodness, you might have to follow me home. Let's talk.
I love it. I love it. Well, thank you all so much. Oh my God, this was so good. So, Kelly, Denise, Dr. Yannick, Sharon, Marquette, Dr. Vicki, Catherine, Cassandra, thank you so much. This is good. I'm going to stand behind here so the photographer can take a picture, and then we're going to break down this set right here, and they're going to get back to their talks. But I can't tell you how God put this together. You all were in sync and in flow, like really, like the same messages about hope and inspiration, and thank you all so much. Where's my daughter, Aubrey? Can you come here, please? There's my daughter. Can you take a picture, please? She'll probably send you an Instagram message. She's always on IG. Thank you. Aubrey is a MSU graduate, majoring in advertising. Okay. She's a little bossy. Thank you. Oh, right. All right. Well, thank you all, everyone, for joining us. We do have, I told you guys it was a working lunch, so you all have lunches to go. They have lunches to go. Yes, so you all have a box lunch to go, because it was like, well, how are we going to eat and talk and take pictures and videotape? So you could take it to go, or you could stay. They could stay in here and stay. Yes, stay. Yes, so you could stay in here and eat your lunch. Okay. And stay in here and eat the lunch. Okay, I'm going to go back to my training.